Welcome, delegates. Today, I will be taking a deeper look at two nations with distinct histories and backgrounds, those being Sweden and Bangladesh. To begin, let's take a deeper look at their development into modern day. Starting with Sweden, they gained their independence around 1523 and had great power in the 17th century. It marked their peak in terms of size, power, and army. They even held a lot of Finland, Estonia, Latvia, and Germany. Unfortunately, in the 18th century, they lost a lot of this power in wars, and they eventually had their king overthrown and shifted to a more balanced government. And in 1814, they became a neutral country. The 1800s marked a lot of poverty for their country. In the 1900s, though, they had a lot of government reform and economic recovery. Next, let's take a look at Bangladesh. They have a very war-torn history and have been fought over many times. They have been ruled by many powers, including empires like the Maurya, Gupta, Pala, and Mughal. In the 1700s, the British East India Company helped Britain gain control of what is now Bangladesh, and this power was not ceded until the 1950s, when the region of Bengal was broken up into East Pakistan and West India. And this changed only in 1971 when they became their own independent country. And now let's take a deeper look at the means of growth that they both utilized to become the countries they are today. Beginning with Sweden, the 1870s marked mass industrialization, where they utilized their plentiful iron and timber natural resources to industrialize and become Western European powerhouses. World War I and II were very helpful for them escaping poverty because their neutrality meant they could take less damage and grow more compared to a lot of other countries. And they're now Goliaths in car and tech manufacturing. Moving on to Bangladesh, they started out very poor after independence, and their progress was greatly slowed by military coups, resulting in military leaderships. They had an economic boom in the 90s and 2000s, though, as a second largest exporter of garments in the modern day, only behind China, and their mass urbanization stimulated great growth. They are also soon to graduate from an LDC to what is considered a developing country. Moving on to topography and geography, we look at Sweden. Sweden is very low-lying to the south and the east, with the Scandinavian mountain range to the northwest. Along with their Norwegian border, it is also much higher. They have more fertile land to the south, and they have over 100,000 lakes in their country. They also have a 1,500-mile coastline along the Baltic Sea, and they border Norway and Finland. It is a very cold climate, but it is warmer in the south, and it is considered an elongated state. Its capital of Stockholm is about 1.5 million people in it, and this country does follow the rank and size rule vaguely. Moving on to Bangladesh, it is low-lying in the center, hilly to the southeast and northwest region. It's very fertile, especially to the south near the river Delta, and it has over 700 rivers. It also has a 360-mile coastline along the Bay of Bengal and borders India and Myanmar. It has a tropical wet climate and can be considered a compact state. Its capital of Dhaka has about 36 million people inside of it. Bangladesh does not follow the rank size rule. Moving on to population, we'll start with Sweden. Sweden has an extremely low population density with only about 25 people per kilometer. It has among the lowest fertility rates in the world and has very good education. It has a top 20 life expectancy and a stage 4 population pyramid, meaning its population is stagnating and aging, but it is not in a bad shape. Moving on to Bangladesh, it has the highest population density in the world among countries larger than 2 square kilometers. It also has a low fertility rate, below replacement rate, however, not as bad as Sweden. It has a below average education and an average life expectancy. It has a stage 3 population pyramid, meaning that this country will likely grow in the future a lot. Moving on to migration and culture, we'll take a look at Sweden first. Sweden had very high immigration rates in the past, however, there was a large crackdown after the 2015 migration crisis. It is a largely secular country, about half Christian and about half secular. The main language spoken is Swedish, and 20 to 30% of its residents have foreign background. Moving on to Bangladesh, we can see that there are 1 million Rohingya refugees in this country after the Myanmar Civil War seeking asylum. There is mass internal migration into big cities, motivated by factors like climate change. This country is about 90% Islam, 7% Hindu, and the main language spoken is Bengali. And it is almost entirely Bengali ethnically, about 98%. The other 2% is made up by a few indigenous populations. Moving on to the government history. First, we'll look at Sweden. Sweden can be considered a constitutional monarchy with a parliamentary democracy. This means that the king doesn't actually do as much as it used to historically, and the prime minister, which is elected by the people, holds most of the power. The executive, judiciary, and executive branches are the three parts of government, and it is historically a monarchy but has gradually shifted starting in the early 1800s. It joined the EU in 1995 to stimulate economic growth, and NATO in 2024 after Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Moving on to Bangladesh, it gained its independence in 1971 and began as a democracy but was riddled with military coups in the 1900s. The Parliamentary Representative Democratic Republic can represent the way its government forms, and it has a huge government reform in 2024 led by students and young population. Moving on to agriculture. First, we'll start with Bangladesh, whose main crops are rice, jute, and tea. Bangladesh is classified by more subsistence farming. Most wealthy corporations are in the inner cities and do not focus on farming. There is less access to important technology in Bangladesh due to their lesser developed state, and they are devastated by climate change, and small farms are forced to migrate to inner cities, and more rain and natural disasters from climate change prove catastrophic for these small farms. Moving on to Sweden, their main crops are wheat, barley, and oats, along with potato. There's more commercial farming in Sweden due to its easy access to useful technology such as greenhouses and heavy machinery. And climate change may impact this country positively in terms of agriculture due to longer growing seasons, possibly expanding the crop variety. And in conclusion, every factor that examined today plays a part in every other factor, and every part of the puzzle is intertwined. For example, Sweden's agriculture plays a role in its government, and every other factor also does. Also, the examined differences are mainly a result of circumstances, meaning that if Sweden was a country in southern Africa, they would likely be an LDC. It is only due to its easy access to the Atlantic Ocean and part of the richer European countries that it was able to thrive and become an HDC. Thank you and goodbye.